Hi guys, and welcome back to another video. So in this video I'm going to be talking about my top 15 favourite movies from the year 2021. So yeah, these movies I've picked, these 15 movies I've picked are all in accordance with the release dates on IMDb. And yeah, before I get into the main list, I want to sort of talk about a couple of honourable mentions, shall I say, that I just had a great time with, but just didn't quite make the list for me. So the first one that didn't make the list for me was a big one, the James Bond movie No Time to Die. I really did enjoy that movie, but just didn't make the list for me. Disney Pixar's Luca I thought was great. Guillermo del Toro's Nightmare Alley. Power of the Dog was another movie that didn't quite make the list for me. Musical I wasn't expecting to like either. In the Heights. The Last Duel by Ridley Scott I thought had a great cast, great medieval setting. Kenneth Branagh's Belfast. Another Ridley Scott movie, House of Gucci. I know a lot of people didn't really like that one, but I got some enjoyment out of it. I thought it was okay. The animated movie Ron's Gone Wrong. Really enjoyed that one. Spielberg's remake of West Side Story. Guy Ritchie's Wrath of Man. Titane I thought was really weird, but I still really enjoyed that film. The 21 version of Mortal Kombat I had a great time with. Godzilla vs. Kong. The visual effects in that movie are just the absolute star. The characters in that movie just are great, but seeing Godzilla and Kong fight on the big screen was just wonderful. Pig with Nicolas Cage was a movie I really enjoyed. Raya and the Last Dragon, great Disney movie. Shang-Chi and the Legends of the Ten Rings from the MCU was another movie I really enjoyed. And Free Guy with Ryan Reynolds, another movie I enjoyed. Those are really sort of my honourable mentions. That being said, going to get into the main list now. I'm kicking it off with number 15 for me is James Gunn's The Suicide Squad. I enjoyed the 2016 movie when I initially saw it at the cinema, but on rewatch, that movie doesn't hold up for me at all. It's a real struggle to sit through. But yeah, I find that movie gets a bit void of colour, and this movie really makes up for it. This movie is so colourful and so enjoyable, and I just connected with the characters a lot more in this movie. It dips for me a bit in the middle, particularly the scenes with Harley Quinn. I didn't really care for, but the third act of this movie I thought was superb. Great monster sequence. I just had a wonderful time with it. So yeah, that is my number 15 choice, The Suicide Squad. So coming in at number 14 is another movie sort of with a bit of controversy behind it, and you'll see why. It's King Richard with Will Smith. This obviously won Will Smith his first Oscar, and obviously I'm not going to get into the whole slap thing, but yeah, this was a really good movie, shall I say, and a fantastic third act as well. I just really like these sort of sports biopics movies, and just telling the story of Venus and Serena and how their father just sort of knew where his daughters could be and reaching that full potential. And I just had a fantastic time with it. So that is number 14, King Richard. So coming in at number 13 is the favourite movie of my good friend Jason Brett from this year. This movie just ticked all these boxes for him. And I really enjoyed this movie too. And that is Malignant. I saw the trailer for this. This was the first time this movie sort of the attention of it was brought to me. I went to see a Candyman with my good friend Cinema Axeman, and the trailer for this really sort of sold this movie to me as like a supernatural haunted house movie, and this movie couldn't be further from it. Giallo is the main word that oozes from this movie, and yeah, I just had a great time with it, to be honest. It went somewhere I wasn't expecting it to go, and I like it when original movies do that. And it was just a real nice surprise. I've heard people say that, if they didn't like this movie on the initial first watch, it has sort of grown on them. And I can see why. I've seen this movie twice now, and I enjoyed it both times. And the third act, I just really got a kick out of it, to be honest. I just really enjoyed it. So yeah, that is my number 13 pick, Malignant. So coming in at number 12 for me is Judas and the Black Messiah. This was a really good political drama that I really dug. I thought Daniel Kaluuya was great in this movie, just firing at all pistons, and I can't wait to see him in Nope when that comes out. And yeah, I just really dug this movie. Like I said, it was just a fantastic political drama, and with some powerhouse performances in it, and I just really dug it. So yeah, that is my number 12 pick, Judas and the Black Messiah. So coming in at number 11 is a movie by Denis Villeneuve, and this guy, to me, he just does not make trash. He makes visually some of the best movies I've seen in recent years, and yeah, this was no exception either. So we've got Dune coming in at number 11, and yeah, I just had a fantastic time with this. I will say the story is a bit lagging, but the cast and the visuals were really made up for this movie. It was just stellar to look at. Yeah, just absolutely breathtaking. And yeah, just had an absolutely fantastic time with it. So yeah, that is my number 11 choice, Dune. Coming up next at number 10, we've got a movie with Andrew Garfield, and that is Tick Tick Boom. Now, usually with musicals, you say that word and it can be a massive turn off for people. It's usually the kiss of death. I'm not the biggest fan of musicals, but I do still like them, if that makes sense. I do still get a kick out of them. I do get enjoyment from them, but it's just not one of my favourite genres. But this movie was a real surprise. I just had a great time with it, telling the story of this guy who was coming up with the musical for Rent, and sort of capturing his struggles, his relationships with people as well at the time. And yeah, it just had this sort of sad ending, without getting into spoilers or anything like that if you don't know the story. But yeah, I just had a wonderful time with it, and really captivated by Garfield's performance in this movie. I just thought he was fantastic in it. So yeah, that is my number 10 pick, Tick Tick Boom. So coming in at number 9, we've got an animated movie that again was a bit of a surprise despite hearing some fantastic things about it. We've got The Mitchells versus the Machines. This movie was just the definition of fun. I just had an absolute blast with it from start to finish, and it just, yeah, it put a giant grin on my face the entire time. And yeah, I just had an absolute wonderful time with this movie. Believe it was brought to us from the studio who brought us Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, and the magic from that movie spilled over into this one. It was just so wonderful. It really was. Really dug it. Really dug the characters in it. Really dug this whole road trip theme to it, and technology just going absolutely batshit insane, and them trying to escape it, and it was just fun. Just so much fun. So yeah, that's my number 9 pick, The Mitchells versus the Machines. So coming in at number 8, we've got another Disney movie that I just really enjoyed, and that is Cruella with Emma Stone. This was again a fun movie that I just dug. I just dug it. I dug Emma Stone in this movie. I thought she was great as Cruella. I was kind of a bit skeptical because a lot of these sort of live action Disney movie remakes, as they were, just haven't met the mark with me. But this wasn't really a remake. This was sort of like a live action prequel, with a solid story and a solid cast, to be honest with you. I loved Jasper and Horace in this movie. I thought they were hilarious. They just really put a smile on my face, and I enjoyed them. And Emma Stone is this sort of, I don't want to say schizophrenic, but she had this different persona that she was in the movie, and I just dug it. I dug everything about this movie, to be honest with you, and I just had a great time with it. The soundtrack, how can we not talk about that? It was just superb. Absolutely superb. And I just dug the movie. I just dug the look of this movie. I thought Emma Thompson was a fantastic villain. And yeah, just had such a great time with it. Really, really great time with Cruella. So yeah, really enjoyed that one. So coming up next, we've got another movie that was a bit of a surprise for me. One of the best action movies from this year as well. And we've got Bob Odenkirk in Nobody. Just a fantastic premise, to be honest with you. This guy's got a bit of a clouded past, and this couple break into his house, and he's just comes to a point where he's not going to take it lying down anymore. It had one of the best action sequences, on a bus, along with Shang-Chi. Two movies to have great action sequences on a bus. And yeah, this was just superb. The supporting cast in this movie as well. Christopher Lloyd as his dad was great. Fantastic to see Michael Ironside back in a movie as well. Haven't seen that guy in a long time. And I just really, really enjoyed him in this movie, despite his limited screen time. But yeah, it was so much fun. So much fun, this movie. I can completely see the comparisons to John Wick as well in it. And I just had a fantastic time with it. So yeah, that is Nobody. So coming up next, we've got a movie I had a fantastic time with this movie at the cinema. So yeah, coming up next, we've got Ghostbusters Afterlife. For me, this was possibly the best they could have done, given the situation with the cast members who are no longer with us. This movie to me was the perfect blend of old and new. I really, really enjoyed this movie. On rewatch, though, I do think some of the new characters in this movie have grated on me a bit, but I still really, really got a kick out of this movie. I thought Paul Rudd was fantastic, and what a great addition to the Ghostbusters franchise. Yeah, I just had an absolutely fantastic time with this. I thought the third act was great. There were people in my cinema who were cheering when that third act sort of kicked in and a big reveal happened. And yeah, I just really, really dug this movie. Just had a fantastic time with it. So yeah, that is Ghostbusters Afterlife. So coming up next is a movie by Edgar Wright that I really, really dug. This was very sort of similar to Cruella, and I got Cruella vibes from this movie. We've got Edgar Wright's Last Night in Soho. Yeah, I'd say the best way to describe this movie for me, it was sort of like a Frankenstein's monster of Cruella, a little bit of Hereditary for me, and I'd go as far back to say some of Somewhere in Time, if anyone remembers that movie with Christopher Reeve and Jane Seymour. It was sort of like a blended version of those three movies for me, and it just worked so well. I just had an absolutely fantastic time with this. The setting, the soundtrack. It's a horror movie in sheep's clothing, this movie. It really is. I just enjoyed the third act completely. It was a great final performance as well from Diana Rigg. I just dug this movie. I had such a blast with it. The cast in it was superb, and again, with the soundtrack, absolutely stellar and enjoyable. And I just had a wonderful time with it. It was just a great cinema experience. Real surprise from last year, and Edgar Wright's done it again. Just makes some great movies, and yeah, this was really enjoyable. So yeah, that is Last Night in Soho. So coming in, I believe that was number 5. So coming in at number 4, we've got Coda. Just what an emotional roller coaster this movie was. I loved the hell out of this film. It was superb, but there was just 3 movies that I enjoyed more. This was just a fantastic drama, capturing the story of a teenager who has a deaf brother and deaf parents, and how she wants to take up this sort of singing career and take that forward, despite, you know, helping her parents out with this business that they've known their whole lives of fishing. And yeah, it's just their parents have to come to terms with the fact that she's not going to be there and not going to be able to help them when they need her. And it was just such a real roller coaster. And to this movie's merit as well, this movie did a fantastic job of putting you in the position of the deaf parents. It executed that wonderfully. There's a scene obviously towards the end of the movie where they go and watch their daughter perform, and it puts you in their perspective, and it's just wonderful. It really is wonderful. It's just fantastic. So that's why it's my number 4 pick, Coda. Just a real wonderful movie. So coming in at number 3 for me is a movie that doesn't really get talked about that whole lot. I thought this movie was absolutely fantastic. So at number 3, we've got Mass. This was, again, touching on a very sort of sordid topic, shall we say. It sort of tells a story of these two sets of parents who were involved, their children were involved in this tragedy that took place, without spoiling it, and they have to sort of spend time in this room and discuss what happened and discuss how they can move forward with their lives. And everyone in this movie, particularly the main 4 actors, give flawless performances. It is just absolutely riveting and engaging, and yeah, just an absolutely fantastic film. It's one of these movies that's primarily set in one room, and I love movies like that. Movies like My Dinner with Andre and The Man from Earth are some of my favourite movies, because they're just set in one room, and they have such fantastic dialogue, and you know, it's that dialogue that keeps you engaged. But this is another movie that executes that sort of format so well, and I can't praise this movie enough. It's just wonderful. It's my number 3 pick, just because there were 2 movies that I just enjoyed a lot more. But yeah, this movie's brilliant. Don't let this go under your radar. Please check this movie out if you can. It's wonderful. I really dug Mass. So yeah, that's my number 3 pick, Mass. So coming in at number 2 for me is a movie by a director that I absolutely love his work, particularly his stuff in the 90s. So yeah, coming in at number 2, we've got Paul Thomas Anderson's Licorice Pizza. I just had a wonderful time with this movie when I went to see it at the cinema on rewatch. I've seen it 3 times now, and yeah, each time it's gotten better for me. I just really enjoyed it. The only thing I'd say about it is it's one of those movies where it has a sequence that dips for me, and it slows the movie down. And unfortunately, it's the scene with Tom Waits and Sean Penn. That's the only negative I give the movie. I didn't care for those scenes. I really didn't. But the rest of the movie, I just absolutely loved, and just thought it was fantastic. I just had such a great time with this movie. Obviously, Alana Haim and Cooper Hoffman, I don't think had acted before, and they just took to this movie like ducks to water. It was like as if they'd been acting for most of their lives. It was just phenomenal. They were just so organic to the movie. Obviously, with the whole story and the whole age gap thing, it was just it can be a bit, strange for some people, and I do get that. And yeah, but this movie sort of plays it very sort of well, shall I say, and just handles it just wonderfully, to be honest. It's a very sort of character driven movie. There's not a lot of action in it. It's more sort of character driven, as it were. I thought Bradley Cooper was just hilarious in this movie when he popped up at the end. And yeah, I just had I can't really explain it. I just had an overall blast with it, to be honest with you. It was just wonderful, and a fun movie that I enjoyed. So yeah, that is my number 2 pick, Licorice Pizza. So coming in at number 1 for me, this probably won't be a surprise to most people. This is a movie that obviously pops up on everyone's list. It was probably the biggest movie of last year. It is, of course, SpiderMan No Way Home. This was... I don't really go to the cinema multiple times, but I went to see this 3 times, and I hadn't done that since 2013. And yeah, I just had a stellar time with this movie. Without getting into spoilers at all, the whole sort of build up to this movie, it was who's going to be in this movie, who's not going to be in this movie, where are we going to go from Endgame with this film. And it just seemed to me that the movie's ambition seemed too high. It just, on paper, it sounded absolutely wonderful with all these cast of characters that could potentially show up in this film. And on paper, it just seemed like too good to be true. To be honest, it just seemed way too ambitious, way too much of a tall order to ask for in this movie. With so many stars had to be aligned for this movie to work, and they pulled it off. They pulled it off with this film for me. Just the ambition was just sky high, and it was executed wonderfully. For me, it just really, really was. I booked the day off work to go and see this film because I didn't want to come across any spoilers by accident or anything like that at all. Didn't want anything ruined for me. And I went to the earliest showing that I could, sat down with a packed cinema, and when things in this movie happen, they happen. The whole audience was just like in gasp, in awe of what they were seeing. And it's movie cinema experiences like that stay with you, and this was just phenomenal. It delivered on that cinema experience, and I just had a wonderful time with this film. It's my favourite movie of 2021. Yeah, I just absolutely loved it. So yeah, that's my number 1 pick, Spider-Man No Way Home. So yeah, those are my top 15 favourite movies from the year 2021, guys. Yeah, just let me know some of your favourite movies down there. There's some movies I didn't really get a chance to see yet. I think The French Dispatch was one, and Drive My Car. They were a couple of movies that I've heard were really good, but I just didn't get a chance to see them. Yeah. So, yeah, gonna leave the video there, guys, and say, hope you've enjoyed it. Thanks very much for watching. Stay safe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.